Yesterday, I talked about why a private investigator needs to be involved in your criminal defense case from the very beginning, from the preliminary hearing, not the week before trial, not after the damage is done, from day one. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. What do I actually do in the first 60 days? What is the process? What am I looking for? And why does it matter so much? Because this process is everything. Get it right, and you give the case a real fighting chance. Get it wrong, and the door's closed permanently. Evidence disappears. Witnesses are gone. Opportunities that could have changed everything are lost forever. Let me break it down to you step by step. The very first thing I do before I ask a single question, before I hit a single street, before I do anything, I ask for the discovery packet. I need to know exactly where my client is in the court process, and there are two different start points. Are they before the preliminary hearing or are they already locked up? Those are two completely different situations and they require two completely different approaches. If they are already incarcerated, I need everything. I mean, everything. Court transcripts from the preliminary hearing all the way to sentencing, even every appeal that was filed, every discovery packet that exists on this case. Why? Because you can't investigate what you haven't read. A lot of investigators wants to jump up straight to the streets. They want to start knocking on doors and talking to people. That is a mistake, a big one. If you go out there without reading everything first, you don't know what you're looking for. You don't know what questions to ask. You don't know what prosecutors built their case on. You are walking blind. You need to prepare. The discovery packet and the course transcripts, that is the foundation. That is where everything else is built from. You read it all first, then you move. So, what am I actually looking for when I sit down and read through all of this? I'm looking for inconsistencies. I'm looking for gaps. I'm looking for names that appear once in a document and then never show up again. I'm looking for evidence that was collected but never followed up on. I'm looking for statements that don't line up with each other. Here's something most people don't understand about a case file. The case file tells you what the prosecution wants you to see. It is built to support their narrative, their version of what happened. My job is to find what they didn't include, what was left out, what got overlooked, what got buried. And I want to tell you, is almost always there. In almost every case I worked, there is something in that discovery packet that nobody caught. A name, a statement, a piece of evidence that points in a completely different direction. You find it by reading slowly, by reading everything, by asking yourself, does this make sense? Does this line up? What is missing here? That is the process. Read first, find the gaps, then plan your next move. Only after I have read everything, and I mean everything, do I sit down with my client for the interview. And I want to be very clear about something. This is not a surface level conversation. This is not me asking a few questions and moving on. This is a deep interview. I need to fully understand what happened from my client's perspective. Every single detail, every name, every person who was present, every place they were, every conversation they had, everything. Because here's what happens when you combine what they tell you with what you already read in the discovery packet. Things start to line up or they don't. Inconsistencies between client's account and the prosecution's account, those are your open doors. Those are the places where the truth might be hiding. A name the client mentions that never appear in the discovery packet, that's a door. A timeline that doesn't match, that's a door. A witness the client knows about that nobody ever interviewed, that's a door. The client interview is where your investigation really begins to take shape. Everything you learn in that room gets added to your list. And that list is what drives everything that comes next. This is why I go deep. This is why I don't rush it. Because the more I understand from my client, the better equipped I am to find what nobody else found. After the reading and after the interview, I sit down and I build what I call my open doors list. An open door is anything in this case that has not been investigated, anything that needs to be proved or disproved, anything that is unresolved. And I write every single one of them down. Every witness that was never interviewed, that's an open door. Every piece of evidence that was collected but never followed up on, that's an open door. Every statement that doesn't line up, that's an open door. Every complainant whose background was never investigated, that's an open door. Who are they? Do they have a motive? Have they done this before? Were they coerced into giving a statement? Every witness whose credibility was never challenged, that's an open door. Were they pressured by police? Did they have something? Did they have something to gain by talking? Is their story consistent? I also look at the evidence itself. What is properly collected? Was the chain of custody maintained? Is there additional evidence that was never requested? Evidence that could be out there right now that nobody has gone looking for. And here's something critical. In the first 60 days, we may need to request additional discovery. Evidence and documents that were never turned over to the defense. Material that could fundamentally change the direction of this entire case. This is the deepest part of the work. This is where the real investigation lives. And I do not close a case. I do not walk away until every single door on that list is closed. Every one, proved or disproven, investigated and documented. That is the standard. That is what this work requires. The first 60 days of a criminal defense investigation are the most critical window you have. Miss that window and doors close permanently. Witness disappear, evidence gets lost, people move on, memories fade, opportunities that could have changed the entire outcome of this case are gone forever. I have seen it happen. I have worked cases where the window was missed and the damage was irreversible. And I have worked cases where we got in early, where we read everything, interviewed deeply, built the open door list, and closed every single one. And those cases had a different outcome. That is the difference between hiring an investigator at the preliminary hearing and hiring one the week of the trial. One gives you a fighting chance, the other is damage control. If you or someone you know is facing criminal charges in Philadelphia, call me. Don't wait for trial. Don't wait for sentencing. Don't wait until the window closes. Call me now. Let's get to work.